Hey, my friends, welcome back to another video. In this video, I was thinking about this earlier. I'm like, wow, it is kind of interesting how there's some people who are so busy. Like all they can tell you is that they can't do anything because they have this, and this to do, or they're just back to back busy. They just never have time to breathe. They're lucky to ever get a vacation. They just have like so much going on. And then there's some other people that are like the complete opposite. They have very little going on. They're just like, their schedule is completely open. They're always available to do something. And you're like, wow, how does that happen? How does one person get landlocked in life and another is like just a boat, with its sails open, just catching the wind, blowing wherever it wants to go? How does this happen? How do you maximize your level of freedom? This is a big question in a lot of ways because a lot of people who are really busy and so-called landlocked and they seem like they have no time to do anything that they want, or at least they don't even have the option to make a choice, that their goals or their desires, at least from what I've been hearing from asking some of these people, is to have that level of freedom, that they just dream about that. They think that they'll probably have that at retirement, but for the next so many decades, they're going to have to work. And then they get their retirement and they can actually start to relax. But do you really want to live your life like that? Do you really want to burn yourself out in a lot of ways and wear your body out too, and wait until you get older, and you never know, you may not ever even get older. You may have something happen to you, God forbid, and you may not ever even get to old age. So maybe it's more important than ever to enjoy every day and start clearing out your schedule, or to reduce the clutter in your life. And I think that a lot of these things are done by choice, though. Some people that at least I've been recognizing lately, some people fill their days because they're afraid of free time or open time, or creative time. They just don't know what to do with time. So some people just landlock themselves on purpose with just one activity after another. They volunteer for everything. And I'm a big fan of volunteering for things of good causes. But then there's also a point that you disrespect yourself when you don't give any time to yourself for personal growth. Now, we know from previous videos that I've done that when you give up to others of yourself, when you volunteer and you're charitable and you help others, that you get great rewards as a side effect. It's a very good experience, So you definitely want to do that. I'm not talking about that in particular here. I'm talking about you always avoiding quiet time, or me time, or however you want to phrase it. The time for you to kind of just take a moment to kind of think about the day, to process your life, to make some changes or goals, to get your focus readjusted on what you want to do right now and in the next week, and if there's things that need your attention. This is the kind of thing I think a lot of people just are freaked out. Once again, people just don't want to face who they are, or maybe who they're becoming. And so I think that's the first thing, is just to kind of identify that, wow, that you're busy because you chose to be busy. And that's a big point to be made. A lot of people don't want to admit that. Me personally, like, I'm somewhat busy, but it's all by choice, obviously, like we were just talking about. And I can clear my schedule. Let's just say that. I can clear my schedule in a heartbeat. And if I want to take off the next couple of weeks, I can do it. But it's just because I have goals and focus to do certain things that I'm doing those. But it's because they're meaningful to me that I do it. It's not because I feel like I have to do it, or it's just something that I just do because that's who I am and there's no other rhyme or reason. No, I think it through. But a lot of people just go to their job, a 9-to-5 job that they don't like. They may even hate it, because they think they just have to do it to support their family. And by no means am I saying don't support your family. I'm just saying do something that you really love and enjoy, something that brings you great happiness And that when you go home, that you can take that happiness with you and share it with everyone that you're around. You know, when you're more of yourself, you know, you're more in tuned to all the gifts that you have, and you're more apt to share them and to grow in them than if you're stifled into something that you resent. I see a lot of resentment these days, and I myself have had jobs that were just stifling to the nth degree. I don't know. They're just like horrible jobs. Some of them were just completely boring. Some of them were just mindless. And other ones were just so stressful that was just needless, just like really bad environments to work in. And I have to say, there's a lot of people I know that continue to keep themselves in these states of being, you know, that these horrible jobs, these mindsets that are self-destructive, and they don't want to make the change because it is very difficult. And sometimes you have to almost have a prompt to get you to kind of kickstart, you know, into a different direction. So maybe you could just use this video as an excuse to kind of start looking around in your life and seeing if you need to make a change. Because the next step is going to figure out more of who you are and what you want in life and pursue that. So you first identify there's this issue that you're not happy or you're just too busy or you're doing it on purpose because you have some type of fear that maybe you're not living enough and you're just putting all this clutter on your plate and you don't want any of it. And so when you clear off the clutter and you get to actually looking at what your objectives are in life, what are you trying to achieve, you're going to find yourself in a much more motivated state on a daily basis, you know, and you don't want to use the excuse once again that, oh, I have to go to work and do a 9-to-5 job that I don't like because I got to support my family. Well, there's a lot of ways to support your family, and some of them are extremely creative, and some of them give you great depth and happiness potentials. And it's up to you to take them and to work with them, to grow with them, and to develop them. So, you know, I've tried a lot of jobs in my life. I feel like I'm kind of like, and hopefully this word is not too cliche or people take offense to it, because this is just a word that I was raised with, but like kind of like a gypsy, you know, like you know those caravans of gypsies that kind of like they don't have a home, but they live in tents and they kind of move around. And I say that in a respectful manner, of course. But these people, for their own necessity, they do that. Well, I kind of felt like most of my life, I did that for a while. Now, I've had jobs that I've stayed there for many years, but I've had so many jobs in my short life that it seems like it's a little bit out of proportion. Like, wow, I've had a lot of experiences. And there for a while, I thought it was a real negative thing that I had all these jobs and all these little experiences. But now I know that it was a really good thing, that I now know what things I like and don't like. I know what kind of people to kind of be aware of and what kind of people to trust more than others. And so, wow, it was actually like a training camp, it was like being taught the lessons of life. And so I'm really thankful for that, you know. And you know, sometimes you meet people that you would have never met if you didn't do this or that. I mean, you probably know what I'm talking about. You know, there's probably people at work that you would have never met outside of work. Or if you went to certain schools or training, you know, lessons or classes somewhere, that you would have never met them elsewhere. Maybe you went on a vacation and you traveled and met someone that you would have never met unless you went on that cruise or that road trip. There's all kinds of things that you kind of just run into, just kind of find out. And you're just like, wow, you know, how did that happen? You know, was that destiny? Was that just fate? How does life really work? And, you know, you could kind of argue in a lot of different ways, but at least we know that we do have some type of choice. And I think that the majority of our choices are limited, though. I'm not going to kind of say they aren't, because at least in my mind, I don't think that we have like full range to just do whatever we really want to do. At least we think we want to do. A lot of times what we think we want to do is not what we really need to do to be really happy. But I think that choice is somewhat limited, because we have to do certain things to survive. And the world works in a certain way that sometimes the world provides so much resistance if we were to do certain things that they wouldn't work out. And so within reason, though, and within our limitation and the actual bandwidth or scope of our choices, we can still create some change, and it can be quite dramatic. Even if we could only choose 10% of the things that go on in our life, that 10% could be the difference between being really happy and really sad. And we need to kind of really kind of magnify that whole way of thinking and looking at our choices and trying to understand why we are in the position that we are. Why do we think the way we think, and how do we behave, and why is that so? These are things that can be in some way at least understood. Maybe not fully, but we can probably get at least a grasp on this stuff if we started to pay attention, or even asked others and research our past. Maybe have a diary and just kind of record and look at trends. So anyways, I'm starting to ramble. I just wanted to share these thoughts. Sometimes I get into a groove. At least I think I'm in a groove. Maybe this stuff is just completely boring. Let me know in the comment section. Thanks for watching. You guys stay safe.